We begin in southern Gaza. Fighting there is intensifying, with Israeli troops said to be engaging Hamas fighters in the city of Khan Yunis. Aid officials say the battles are making it impossible to get desperately needed aid to civilians. Today, the UN's human rights chief is warning both sides they are at risk of violating international law.
My humanitarian colleagues have described the situation as apocalyptic. In these circumstances, there is a heightened risk of atrocity crimes. Measures need to be taken urgently, both by the parties concerned and by all states, particularly those with influence, to prevent any such crimes.
In a phone call today, Japan's Prime Minister urged Benjamin Netanyahu to minimize civilian casualties. The Israeli Prime Minister reportedly responded by outlining his objectives for Gaza. Netanyahu said yesterday that Israel planned to demilitarize Gaza and then maintain an ongoing security presence. The UN says 80% of Gaza's 2 million residents have been forced from their homes, with many crowding as far south as possible. The Israel Defense Forces released this video today showing their soldiers operating inside Gaza, but it's not clear when or where it was recorded. Witnesses say Israeli tanks are currently moving closer to the center of Khan Yunis. Journalist Iris Mackler has more from Jerusalem.
What they are meeting was to approve the US, I was going to say request, suggestion, maybe even instruction, that it would be best if more aid could be allowed into the south of the Gaza Strip, particularly so that the humanitarian situation there could be addressed. And Benjamin Netanyahu didn't want to approve that personally. He wanted the whole cabinet, his very right, far right government, to approve that. Even with the addition of the centrist party there, he wants them to approve that US request, because the standard right-wing position in this country at this moment is that there should be no humanitarian gestures to Hamas until Hamas releases the hostages that it took on October the 7th. But, you know, what we heard from the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Türk, earlier, was that there's so much death, destruction and deprivation in Gaza at the moment that it's suffering a deeper layer of suffering that actually can't be conceived. Not enough water, not enough food, not enough shelter, not enough medical treatment, not enough sanitation, and that all of this is the apocalyptic conditions he was describing. He is calling for aid agencies to demand an immediate ceasefire, to join him in demanding an immediate ceasefire. But I have to say one thing, Andrew, and that's this. You know, both sides have described the fighting in the last 24 to 36 hours as the most intensive so far. So it doesn't seem to be that on the ground there's a desire for a let-up yet. I mean, we've seen even tonight, despite the massive deprivation in Gaza, we've seen rocket fire from Gaza into Israel. So something is still functioning, and that's the Hamas war machine. And Hamas and Israel seem to be intent on continuing this at this moment, despite international calls for a ceasefire.
And Netanyahu is also under some pressure when it comes to his plans for Gaza in the longer term. What more can you tell us about his latest comments on that and the reaction to them?
What Benjamin Netanyahu has been saying both yesterday and today, and in fact earlier as well, is that Gaza will have to be demilitarized in order, you know, after this war. It will not be able, so it will not be able to carry out another October the 7th style attack, you know, as the Hamas leaders have said they will do if they can. He said it's Israel's job to demilitarize. No one else is going to be able to do that. And then afterwards, there'll be either a security presence of Israelis or perhaps even international, but the actual demilitarizing will be done by Israel. Washington wants a bit more of an answer about what the day after is going to look like. And the only answer they really get from Benjamin Netanyahu is that he will not have, as long as he's prime minister, as he put it, there will not be a Palestinian Authority presence in the Gaza Strip. So that, I think, shows where his politics is. That's his military opinion, if you like. Some here say, I've heard various analysts say there's also a political dimension to it. Benjamin Netanyahu says that any investigation into what went wrong from the Israeli side on October the 7th, the massive intelligence, military failure and leadership failure, actually, will only be investigated after the war. And cynical political analysts here are saying that the longer this goes on, the better it is politically for Benjamin Netanyahu. So there's a military component and perhaps also a political component too.
Journalist Iris Mackler in Jerusalem.